Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Belinda Cerone, our tax operates solution leader in Oceania, and really looking forward to our conversation on how tax functions are driving more value for the enterprise and the role data and AI play in this. Belle, welcome.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, and thank you for having me.
Tell me your view on how you see tax functions evolving, because really navigating compliance in a responsible way in such a rapidly changing environment is such a huge responsibility. But it's great to see how organizations and tax functions are even more focused on driving value beyond doing compliance really well.
Business leaders, tax and finance, always need to make sure that they're complying with regulations. But more and more, they're being asked to focus on driving value and insights. And once you combine that request from the broader organization with things like cost pressures and the fact that regulation is ever increasing and complex, they're needing to rethink things like their operating model. So more and more, we're working with clients around how do they drive value from their operating model, how do they make sure they're best practice, and how do they make sure that they're future fit. There's call it 3 levers that clients look at when they're looking at bringing their operating model to a point where they're driving value. So that would be data, AI, and also looking at the combination of co-sourcing and insourcing. So if you think about data first, more and more organizations are needing to leverage the data that they have to provide insights. And that insight is really needed for not only driving value, but to provide real-time decision making. So things like strategic transactions, they're needing to make sure the tax and finance functions have that leverage of data to provide it to ensure things like acquisitions are being done with the best view of data. Another example would be for board reporting. More and more tax and finance functions are needing to leverage data to make sure they're getting the right content for strategic decision making at the board level. The second lever around AI is probably my favourite. So more and more tax and finance functions are needing to focus on their footprint in terms of employees and what they're actually doing. So we did a recent tax and finance operate survey. It was about 1,600 respondents, all of which pretty much said that they want their tax and finance functions doubling their focus on value-add activities. So one way to do that would be to increase headcount, which people are not going to be doing. So the real way to do that is to embed AI and technology solutions into the tax and finance functions, because what that does is free up resources essentially. So rather than your people focusing on routine activities, they're really focusing on the things that matter and drive value for the business. And the third one is the operating model piece in terms of what split you have between co-source and in-source. So quite often now we're working with clients to look at what the functions and processes are, what needs to be kept close to the business and what's strategically important for them to deliver, and what other things can actually be outsourced or co-sourced as, for example, a managed service. So that could be things that are more routine, that aren't needed to be as close to the business. And a great example and really common example is compliance in tax returns.
So the leveraging of AI and the insight that can be gathered from that, it really allows and actually empowers our client teams to really operate at the top of their license, so their domain expertise is coming into play.
Absolutely.
I think the second theme, right, even though tax compliance is something that may appear to be routine, just the responsibility and the complexity around it and being able to rely on a trusted partner to do that really gives clients the opportunity to focus on what is their core strategic capability while they are relying on our core capability in compliance in the tax domain to help drive that value for them. I love how you keep grounding us back in the tax finance operate survey, because I think that's just such powerful insight from heads of tax and finance across sectors, across geographies. 86% of them responded that they're placing a premium on AI, on data, on leading technologies, but not simply to drive point solutions, right? How are you thinking about it to really drive value across entire processes?
Well, how are clients really focusing on AI? Are they doing it internally or are they leveraging external respondents? I would say Again, from our tax and finance operating survey, there's about 83% of respondents said that they are looking for advisors to help, with very few really trying to do it internally. And there's various factors as to why they're doing that. It's much more cost effective to leverage an advisor in terms of someone who's already done it. But the second one is probably the most important one, getting insights at pace. So making sure that they're not waiting a really long time to embed AI, that they're embedding it at pace with an advisor. So one really good example of a client that we are working on, it's a managed service client, specifically around tax controversy and responding to Revenue Authority inquiries. So they have a lot of inquiries from around the world. They're spending weeks on end for each inquiry to make sure that they're collecting the data that's needed to respond. It's not an excellent use of time, so we work with them to embed AI and technology, because a lot of the data is in the managed service engagement, but it's also embedded across the organisations through ERP and emails, etc. So we combined all of those data collection points in the way we thought about the AI use case, and we were able to get to a point where the client now has a first draft of the Revenue Authority response at 90% accuracy, and it saves thousands of hours and weeks across the globe.
Another thing that I admire about you is your focus on building high-performing teams. So share some of your learnings that you've gained as you've continued to focus on that.
Well, I spend pretty much all my time working with either clients or teams within EY, and also with our alliance partners, and a lot of that's in managed services environments. So managed services engagements bring great value, but when they're across a whole bunch of different countries, you really need to make sure all of the teams are aligned and understand the purpose. So when you're thinking about a high-performing team, it's also thinking through cross-border differences and cultural differences, making sure that the whole team understands how we're going to communicate, what's the purpose of the managed services engagement, and what we're trying to drive for the client. And more importantly, it's about making sure that you understand the client's problems and challenges, and that the whole team is aligned to solving those problems as a team to bring that value to the client. And I think most of all too, it's about having fun, because if you aren't having fun, you really can't drive those benefits, and you can't be a high-performing team. You need to love what you're doing, and it comes out many times over with the clients in the way they operate with us.
That is so true. Thank you for sharing the focus and how we're achieving value for our clients, but just really having fun and continue to strengthen our relationships with our clients as we do that.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for having me.